All right, y'all, what's going on? Welcome to the Shift Fitness Systems YouTube channel where we share practical information and inspiration for guys over 30 who want to look good, feel good, and get after it, all right? And so today we are talking about everybody's favorite topic, fat loss, okay? So we're going to cover what fat loss really is, how to achieve it, and 3 sustainable ways that you can make sure that you integrate these crazy habits and things that
You're crazy.
you think you might need to do into your lifestyle so you can make the fat loss not only attainable, but sustainable for the long term. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Real quick, guys, if you're finding this content useful, feel free to give this video a like or subscribe, or check out the link in my bio where I offer 5 exercise upgrades to make your routine feel a little bit less boring, make your body feel less stiff, and introduce some athleticism and excitement back into your training routine. And if you want a deeper dive into some of these topics or a more comprehensive overview of what an actual fat loss program might look like, check out this video up here where I go over the 3 main pathways that you have into actually creating change in your body composition. Real quick before we get into any of the other tips or the physiology of what we're going to talk about, which we're not going to get too deep into that kind of stuff because honestly it's pretty boring unless you're a freaking nerd.
More like Borophyll.
But anyway, just a heads up, this is for the guy who is in his 30s or 40s, busy with kids, maybe 5 to 10 pounds overweight, and wants just his bathing suit to look better, wants a shirt to fit better, and wants to be able to see an ab, right? An ab or 2. I'm not talking to the guy who is already at 8% body fat who wants to see, veins in his abs or be, as like my favorite strength coach would say, Charles Poliquin, dick skin lean, okay? This is not advice for those people. Those people are doing something totally different than the people that I work with and what I think is realistic and sustainable for a lifetime kind of aesthetic and healthy look, all right? So let's go ahead and get into it and start to talk about fat and just what its purpose is in your body, okay? So for our conversations, speaking of fat loss, we need to understand that fat's primary purpose in your body is energy storage, all right? So your body has fat on it so that it can, in times of need, give you energy when there is not food available. So what does that mean? That means that my need needs to be greater than my intake. When my need is greater than my intake, my body has to have a response to that, okay? If I don't have enough food around me and then all of a sudden my energy needs are high because stress is high or I've exercised a little bit more or whatever else is going on in my life, then my body has to have a way to keep the systems running. There's a couple ways that it does that, but the primary thing that we have as human beings is going to be fat storage, all right? We have fat on our body for times when we do not have enough food around or enough intake to be able to supply our demand, all right? So that's a very important point whenever we start to think about what it actually means to create a sustainable environment for your fat loss. All right, now that we got that super complex physiology out of the way, let's go ahead and discuss quite literally the one rule that you absolutely need to understand if you're going to create fat loss in the short term or the long term. Your body is very complicated, okay? There's hormonal systems, you have a nervous system, you have a physiology, you have a psychology, you have a spirituality, you have all of this stuff going on, okay? But when it comes down to it, a certain level of your body is purely physical and energetic, okay? When it comes to changing your body composition or changing your aesthetic, that's the lens through which we're gonna be looking at stuff, okay? So at the end of the day, it's an energy equation. If you wanna think about it instead of calories, you can think about it like money. It's a money equation. Are you saving more money or spending more money? Okay? When it comes to fat loss, you want to be spending more money. That means you want to be overdoing it relative to how much money you have in the bank, okay? Your body's the bank, your spending habit is your activity and all sorts of things that you can do. So whenever it comes to fat loss, you need to be inputting less than you are outputting. If you do that over a sustainable period of time, you will create fat loss, okay? Now, there are many things that come into play for this equation. You can have environmental and hormonal factors. You can have the general status of your metabolism. You can have your activity level. You can have the amount of twitching that you do whenever you're just kind of sitting around. There's all sorts of stuff that affect your output here, all right? But the input is the amount of food that you take in and then your body's ability to metabolize that, create muscle or fat, or use it for energy, and then the output that you have, which is your digestion, your activity, your daily energy expenditure, the way your brain moves, all that kind of stuff goes into these factors. You can make it as complicated as you want to make it, and trust me, there are hundreds of podcasts and all sorts of books out there that can make it more complicated than even the smartest people. The smartest people in the world disagree with each other about something as simple as this. But my experience leads me to believe that it is, at the end of the day, this simple. If your input is less than your output, you will lose weight, okay? Now, we're not just trying to lose weight. We are trying to lose body fat, all right? So because we're trying to lose body fat, there are certain strategies that we need to implement to make sure that our body loses body fat instead of just body weight, which could be water, could be muscle, could be glycogen, could be bone minerals. It could be all sorts of stuff that is not body fat that will not help our body composition in the long run. All right. So the ultimate dilemma when it comes to losing body fat when you're in a fat loss phase instead of just losing body weight, right? The scale tells you weight. Your shirt and the mirror will tell you body fat, okay? So here's the thing. Let's not think about it like weight. Let's not think about it like calories. Let's think about it in something that we've seen a lot more often, which is gonna be money, okay? You want to keep as much muscle on your body as possible. No one that says, yes, I want to lose muscle and keep all of my fat. No, the weight that you're trying to lose is going to be body fat, all right? So how do you keep as much muscle on your frame as possible while losing as much body fat as possible, okay? So let's think about it like money. So you have 2 cars, okay? You're a lucky person, you got 2 cars, you got a good job, everything's paying well, et cetera, et cetera. All right, the Ferrari that you have, I'm not much of an artist, but I think you can tell that that's a Ferrari, is $2,800 a month to pay your car note, okay? Cool, it's beautiful, it's shiny red, it's fast, people like it, they want to touch it, okay? That's muscle, obviously, if that wasn't clear, all right? And then now you have body fat, okay? It's a 96 Camry, okay? It's got a couple of scraps, it's got a couple of scrapes on it, the tires are not looking so good, but the gas mileage is incredible, and it's only $350 a month, okay? You can pay that thing off for forever, all right? Now, your job was going well, you were getting enough money to meet your needs, but now you're in a money fat loss phase, AKA you're not getting as much money as you were. So your budget is now $2,600 a month. Shit, I cannot afford both of these cars. Okay, now, if the Ferrari is very expensive and the fat is very cheap, your body naturally says, I want to get rid of the Ferrari because it's very expensive and it's not as efficient and it's not as, useful for me in the long term of my own body's survival as the fat is, okay? So how do you tell your body to keep as much of the expensive stuff and get rid of as much of the inexpensive stuff as you possibly can, all right? And that's going to be where my next 3 tips come in. All right, the first thing you absolutely must do if you want to lose body fat in the long term or the short term is going to be cut the crap, all right? What do I mean by that? I don't mean stop lying to yourself. I mean stop the splurge, okay? The weekends can absolutely kill you. And don't get me wrong, I love getting after it with the boys, having a couple of drinks, eating a meal that I may eat once or twice a year and just really blowing it out and enjoying my life and enjoying the fact that food is freaking delicious. But if you have body composition goals and you've been struggling with losing those last 5 to 10 pounds, chances are that you have some major leaks in your diet and some major splurging in your diet that you either are not aware of or don't recognize how big of an effect it is having on you. So let's just do a little quick math, okay? And I'll show you how that actually looks. So if your goal is to eat 2,000 calories a day to be at maintenance, right? If I eat 2,000 calories a day, my body weight will not go up, it will not go down, okay? So I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight. So what that means is I'm gonna eat 1,800. That's a 10% reduction in my calories per day. Awesome, I'm in a deficit. If I do that for an extended period of time, I will drop body weight. Awesome. Okay, Monday through Friday, I eat 1,800. I'm doing a great job. I'm eating chicken and broccoli. I'm doing my thing. On Saturday and Sunday, I have some po' boys, I have a couple of beers, I have a little bit of ice cream because it's the weekend. I go to a kid's birthday party and they have cake, and who's not gonna eat cake? Like, don't be a Debbie Downer. All right, and on those days, I average 3,000 calories per day. Okay, if you look at the actual calorie content of some of the more, delicious and amazing foods that are out there, hitting 3,000 calories in a day is it's not that hard to do. Okay, 1 or 2 pieces of king cake and a couple of beers and you are well over that. All right, so here's the problem, is that if my goal is to eat 2,000, I do a great job Monday through Friday. I'm very sustainable. I'm very, on point with that stuff. But I do have a little bit of a good time on Saturday and Sunday. At the end of the week, my average is 2150. That means that I'm 150 calories over maintenance over the course of the week on average per day, which means that at the end of that week, even though I dieted all week and I did a great job, I will end up gaining body weight. And most likely body fat, because no one splurges too much on chicken breast, okay? So if you want to lose body fat, you really have to be conscious of making sure that you are not splurging too much, okay? That you are keeping your blowouts inside of a certain kind of respectable range. Otherwise, your body fat loss attempts will just won't happen. Unfortunately, it just will not happen. Maybe it could happen when you were 18, maybe it could happen when you were 22, 24, but now it's just not going to work. And that's the unfortunate truth of it. The unfortunate truth is that it's a lot harder. It's proportionately more difficult to save and to diet than it is to splurge, right? It's so freaking easy to overeat. It is very difficult to consistently eat at a deficit, okay? So rule number 1 is to really make sure that you are not splurging out of your means, and you can stay within a respectable range if you are going to have something you enjoy. So my rule is give yourself 1 meal a week where you get to scratch the itch, okay? That means either pick Saturday or Sunday and pick whichever meal that's gonna be, where you get to have the lasagna, you get to have the slice of pizza, you get to have, an extra beer or something like that. And that way you get to scratch the itch and have a good time and enjoy your life without absolutely blowing things out of the water. All right. And then if you're doing really good, you can have 1 meal a month where you just say, fuck it, and you just let it rip and you have a good time. All right. But 1 meal a week to scratch the itch. All right. So our first point was to stop the splurge or cut the crap. That's going to be more of like a lifestyle kind of oriented point. This is going to be purely a diet point, okay? And so when it comes to body fat and when it comes to trying to improve your body composition and not just losing weight for the sake of losing weight, it is very important to prioritize protein, okay? Every single diet and fitness coach is going to tell you that. Every bodybuilder is going to tell you that. Like, everybody's going to tell you that all the time. And there's a freaking reason for it. Is because it's true, right? The muscle that you want on your physique to actually look the way that you want to look takes protein to build and to maintain. And the reality is that if you are not bringing in enough resources to keep that protein on your frame, then your body will get rid of it faster than you can possibly think, okay? Because muscle is expensive to keep. It has a higher metabolic rate, so it's more expensive. There are plenty of reasons why your body is going to get rid of muscle before it would body fat. Like we talked about earlier, body fat is the way that you can ensure your survival in the long term. So what organism, what biological creature wouldn't want to do that? You're going to get rid of the muscle way before you get rid of the body fat. And getting your protein up is a number 1 thing that you have to do to make sure that your fat loss efforts don't just turn into random weight loss efforts, all right? So what you're going to try to do is 1 gram per pound of body weight. All right. And that body weight is your goal body weight. So if you're 185 and you want to get down to 175 from a fat loss perspective, you're going to try to eat 175 grams in a day. All right. That is your bullseye. Okay. Now, if you miss that bullseye and you end up eating 150, you're probably close enough. Okay. But if you can get to that number, then you can basically guarantee yourself that your body is going to keep as much muscle from a nutritional perspective as it possibly can. The other thing is that yes, your protein is important from a muscle basis standpoint, but that also means that your satiety is going to be higher. It also means that your body is going to be burning a little bit more energy to process this protein. Okay, so there's lots of things that are happening, but hitting this number is absolutely crucial in making sure that you maintain your body weight from a muscular perspective and not just dropping whatever weight happens to be there. All right. So remember, cut the crap and hit your protein target. All right, guys. So we talked about a lifestyle component. We've talked about a diet specific component. Now let's talk about a training and activity component, my personal favorite. And that is going to be, you have to train heavy. All right. What do I mean by heavy? Okay. For me, heavy means that you're training in a range that we might call an average of functional hypertrophy. So that is going to be a lifting kind of parameters where your average rep is going to be anywhere from 5 to 8. All right. Some people say 6 to 8. Some people say 5 to 10. For me, 5 to 8. All right. That means that when you're doing bench press or you're doing pull-ups or you're doing dips or you're doing, overhead shoulder press or any of that kind of stuff, you're going to be using weight heavy enough that it falls inside of this 5 to 8 rep range. All right. For your secondary exercises, okay, what you might call your B series, you're going to be using training that is going to stimulate more hypertrophy from a metabolic perspective. So you're going to be using stuff like drop sets, all right, extended sets, which drop set is a type of. You're going to be using things like max reps. You're going to be using things like burnouts and, stuff like pump techniques, all right? Things that are going to create a lot of metabolic stimulus to not only help you burn more energy in the training session, but also to stimulate your muscular system from a perspective of the metabolic system to create more burn, more fatigue, and a bigger driver of a hormonal response so you keep more of that muscle around, all right? So it's not just pure bodybuilding training. I'm not talking that all of your training needs to be arms and shoulders kind of day, or that it needs to be, crazy supersets, right? It's very important if you're trying to maintain muscle while in a fat loss phase from a diet and lifestyle perspective, that you use training that is going to stimulate your body and be heavy enough, okay? Doesn't have to be a 1 rep max, but it's going to be heavy enough that your body says, oh shit, next time I do this workout, if that barbell is any heavier than it was this time and I don't keep as much muscle as I have right now, it may fall on me. I may not be able to push it back up. I may not be able to pull myself up or whatever it is, right? You have to tell your brain and you have to tell your body to keep as much muscle on your frame as you possibly can in a fat loss phase because you are already eating not enough, okay? Well, that would be that'd be a less than sign, all right? You're already not eating enough food to maintain the body weight that you currently have. So you need to train hard in a way that helps you stimulate that muscle from a neurological perspective and stimulate that muscle from a hormonal and metabolic perspective so that you keep as much of that on your frame as you can. All right. So we've already covered the lifestyle component. You got to cut the crap. We covered the protein component from a nutritional perspective, and we've covered the training component, right? So those are going to be my 3 biggest fat loss focal points if you want to have a sustainable and maintainable change in your actual body composition, all right? So if you're out there and you need some help with this kind of stuff, you need help with the training program or how to actually organize your diet or just accountability on some lifestyle stuff, I offer one-on-one coaching, and I would love to help you guys out there if you're if you're interested. Also too, if you found this useful, feel free to share it, like, subscribe, do the whole thing, and we will make some more content for you guys. And until next time, y'all. Peace.